Today, I want to open up about the challenging journey of dealing with grief as an immigrant living far away from home. In this video, I share a personal story about coping with grief in a foreign land, a topic that's often overlooked but deeply impactful for many of us navigating life away from our roots. It was about 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time, about 7:30 a.m. in Uganda on Father's Day 2 years ago. I was driving home after hanging out with my friends when I get a WhatsApp call from my sister to inform me that Dad had died. I had just spoke to my dad the day before to wish him a happy birthday. Confused, I tried to ensure I first made it home safe. While I was driving, I immediately called my best friend Kyle, who was surprisingly awake. He told me he was heading home to meet me. Once I got home, I called Mom, and it was obvious that everyone around her was grieving. I wanted to be there with them. It dawned on me that the distance from my family intensified my feelings of isolation and made the beginning of the grieving process even more complex. The distance is the hurdle that many of us find ourselves unexpectedly grappling with. At about 2:30 a.m., my friend and I frantically searched for flights to Uganda. This was when air travel had finally picked up after COVID-19 and prices were through the roof. I am the go-to person for flight arrangements amongst my friends. However, I couldn't even figure out the best route at that particular moment to go home. Flying to Uganda takes a minimum of 20 hours from Atlanta. While we continued searching, we realized I needed a valid visa for Uganda, and that was the first problem. It didn't take long and I joined the family WhatsApp group chat. Within minutes of joining, my family in Uganda had decided that the funeral would be on the same day in the evening, keeping in line with Muslim tradition. My father was to rest in his home village of Masaka. Unlike in America, funerals in Uganda are huge events that require the grieving family to host extended family, friends of the deceased, neighbors, and so on. A lot of planning is involved. I learned in the group chat that all of us as individuals were grieving in our own way, and therefore it was okay to have slight differences in opinion. My phone was pinging with alerts, and when I checked, it was Facebook, and friends in Uganda had already flooded my timeline with comfort. I hadn't even had the chance to make the announcement myself. My inbox was filling fast with condolences and contributions for the funeral. To this day, I haven't completed opening several of the messages that I received. My friend finally left and I was alone and isolated in my house. I could never make it to Uganda in time for the funeral. No last goodbyes to say to Dad, nothing. I cannot think of any other time I ever felt like that. Being in America, I've missed many things: weddings, graduations, births, and I've managed to cope with those. But this was something completely new. I woke up hoping that this was a bad long dream, but with the number of unread WhatsApp messages, this was not the case. My school alumni were so kind to have gathered a lot of contributions, and here I was transacting funds to those on the ground in Uganda who needed them for the funeral arrangements. In the morning, scared to stay in the house alone, I drove to my friend Paul's place. It was about 6 p.m. in Uganda, and it was also time for the burial. We have come a long way. A YouTube link was available for a live funeral stream, so I watched it with my friend. It was strange because at that moment, I really wanted to be around other immigrants. I slept for the rest of that day. When I woke up, I still felt I had to travel to Uganda, so I continued looking for flights and actually applied for my visa. The family decided to arrange a prayer ceremony the following weekend. That would give everyone enough time who was overseas to make it to Uganda. I found a reasonably priced flight on Qatar Airways, and the Ugandan e-visa also came back within about 2 days. That week was long. Coincidentally, my Ugandan friend Jonathan from London was visiting Atlanta, and my brother was here as well for work. We quickly arranged a small vigil at home, something we would have done anyway in Uganda. The Ugandan community in Atlanta and my other friends, primarily immigrants, showed up full support. Everyone brought food and drinks and helped in every way possible. I flew to Uganda with Qatar Airways via Doha. I am familiar with long flights, so the 14-hour flight from Atlanta to Doha is nothing new to me. However, I remember sitting on that plane and wondering what I would do. Should I sleep? Should I write down what I would say in case I was asked to speak? This was going to be a very long flight. In Doha, I had a long layover but got to hang out with some of my friends who lived there. Mudasi took me to a Ugandan spot to eat and offered me a bed to catch up on some sleep. I arrived in Uganda the following morning and was taken immediately to my home village. Visiting my father's fresh grave to me was the closure that I needed. Being around my family during this time was what I had longed for all week. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize a few points that might be of help to you if you're ever in this situation. Have a valid passport at all times. If you have dual citizenship and hold both passports, ensure these are valid. Number 2, if you need a visa to return to your home country, consider applying for a long-term multiple entry visa to eliminate any last-minute delays. Uganda, for example, has a 2-year multiple entry visa that has come in very handy for me. Number 3, send donations you receive immediately to your family on the ground. They need this money to help with funeral arrangements. Number 4, stay active with your country's city associations here in America. In Atlanta, we have the Uganda North America Atlanta Association. They will better understand your unique situation than anyone else. Number 5, feel free to hold vigils. Hold them and invite your American friends, neighbors, and so on. I found it comforting to explain to my friends why I had to do certain things a certain way. Finally, remember the importance of seeking help and finding community in such grief. Whether reaching out to a therapist, joining a support group, or simply confiding in a friend, remember that you're not alone in your pain. Please share your stories and experiences in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to this channel. I am trying to visit all 54 African countries before I turn 54. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay strong and stay connected.